Welcome back to MVP's What the F***
What the f?
What the f?
What the f?
Paranormal Podcast, where we talk about, well, everything the paranormal encompasses. So you ready? Let's fucking do this.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of MVP's WTF Paranormal Podcast. I'm Evan. I'm here with Mel and Tommy tonight. Wes is out, kind of sick or something. I don't know.
We're all sick, man. I this past week, I've not felt well.
I haven't felt well in the past 10 years.
Yes, but this past week, I felt unwell. I don't know how to describe it. I didn't necessarily feel sick, but today I am sick, and yesterday I was sick. But earlier in the week, I just did not. I felt unwell.
Just off.
Yeah. What about you, Tommy?
I'm in the same boat.
I was good this week.
Oh.
Well, since I got my injections, I've been good.
No. Wow.
Ooh, injections. Nice. Is it Botox?
You know, the VA is going to give me Botox to help with my migraines.
Bro, they talked to me about the same stuff. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about Botox in my face.
Well, it's around the hairline.
My eye twitches like a lot. And they were talking about pumping it full of Botox or whatever to stop the twitching.
Yeah, but it does help. It does help with the migraines. It's been known to work with it. So we're going to try that again. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll give it a shot. I don't know. I just didn't want my face to swell up like some of them Hollywood actresses.
Yeah. We're not getting you're not getting lip injections or cheek implants or anything. And it's not like they're going to just whatever you do. I guess I've never had it yet, but I want to make sure that I'm not raising my eyebrows when they do it, because you know how there's some people who get the injections and then they look perpetually surprised.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy. So,
No. I don't want to be
afraid.
that either. That sounds terrible.
All right. So what have you got for us today?
Well, everybody, it's been paying attention this season. You guys know what we're doing here. We're talking about the cryptids, the cryptozoology, the weird monsters that go bump in the night.
Yes.
And this week, we've got some weird ones for you. We're talking about the creepy crawlies, the things with all the legs or no the legs. And in particular, we're talking about the Mongolian Death Worm.
This thing, the Mongolian Death Worm, AKA the big ass beast in the movie Tremors, right?
I mean, I think they modeled it after this cryptid in particular, didn't they? The what are they called? The graboids in Tremors.
Yeah.
You know, they actually made a movie
Called the Mongolian Death Worm.
Yeah, it's an actual film. It came out in 2010. And
Did you
doesn't
see
look
it?
anything. Yeah, it doesn't look anything like Tremors.
Oh.
But if I had to, if it was me looking at this thing, and from the stories and descriptions, I would think it would be a tremor, like one of those creatures.
Yeah. Plus, Kevin Bacon was in Tremors, and hello, it's Kevin Bacon. Can't go wrong.
Everybody loves bacon.
Yeah.
I got you, Evan.
You did.
Because
You did.
I took it probably because that's what he always says.
Oh man.
I beat you. I got you.
So let's
Man,
go
didn't
for
we
this.
have a movie night at your house one night, Mel, where we watched one of the Tremors movies?
We did. We
Yeah.
did.
That movie was terrible.
Shut your dirty whore mouth.
I don't remember which one it was. They had the ass blasters.
Yes.
Oh my God. It was oh man.
All right.
So yeah, deep within the vast deserts of Mongolia, there's the whispers of this wriggling beast, the Mongolian Death Worm. It just sounds cool, man.
It does.
But when you think about it, you think my mind immediately goes to the giant sandworms in Dune.
Uh-huh.
And that is could not be further from what this is. These Mongolian death worms are apparently only about 5 to 7 feet long. They're not gigantic, huge, enormous creatures.
What?
Yeah, from what I've seen, that's all I've heard is they're about 5 to 7 feet long.
About 2 foot.
That's still big.
Because the snake, what is it? The sand boa was mistaken for the Mongolian worm because of the length of the body and the way it's shaped and it slithers.
I could see that totally.
Because I mean, let's face it, there's no actual pictures because obviously anybody who takes a picture is eaten almost immediately afterwards.
Yeah. I would assume so. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
locally in the local region, they call it, I don't know really how to pronounce this word.
The
but
large intestine worm.
Yeah, but they have like a native word for it.
Olgoi-khorkhoi.
Yeah, that's the one. That is the one. But yeah, apparently that translates to large intestine worm because it just looks like a 7-foot section of large intestine crawling along the desert.
Except for like the face mouth thing. All of the like images that I have seen, like
With the teeth?
with the teeth and stuff, also like
Yeah.
when it's like right all up in it's like right up all in the grill. It also kind of looks like a vagina.
With teeth.
Like it's a vagina with teeth.
It's every man's worst nightmare.
It is.
Don't go playing around.
Well,
with that
in
one.
books, it wasn't just that this thing would eat you, but you could just mere touch and you would instantly die from it.
Yeah, because it has some like some kind of crazy lethal poison
Mm-hmm.
that like I guess is like covering its skin. This corrosive poison that covers its whole body,
Mm-hmm.
which is terrifying.
Yeah.
You know.
So what do we know about this thingy?
There's a lot of myth about it and a lot of alleged encounters.
I mean, there has
from
been a lot of people who have actually ventured out to try to see if they couldn't find it.
In the Gobi Desert of Mongolia?
Yes,
Believe it or not.
that would
Several
be the
writers. It looks like as early as 2009.
Well, did you guys know about Roy Chapman Andrews?
Yeah, in the 1920s
Yeah.
expedition that they did out there.
Yeah. So
I briefly read about it, but enlighten me.
Roy Chapman Andrews, he wrote this article in Asia Magazine back in 1922. And Roy Chapman Andrews, he was
Hold on.
Yeah.
The magazine is called Asian Magazine.
Asia Magazine.
Yeah. It's New Conquest of Central Asia.
Well,
okay.
This article was published. The article was published in the Asia Magazine.
Asia Magazine.
Yeah. And he then later published it in his book On the Trail of Ancient Man. That was published like 4 years later. And allegedly, the Mongolian government asked him to maybe capture a specimen, like either a photograph or some sort of specimen for it. They described it to him. No one had, and he said that the premier asked him if he would capture for the government this worm. And he said it was shaped like a sausage, about 2 feet long, has no head, no legs. It's so poisonous that merely to touch it, if you touch it, it's instant death, like Tommy was saying. It lives in the most desolate parts of the Gobi Desert where Andrews was allegedly going. So the Mongolian death worm is to Mongolians what the dragon is to the Chinese people. Even though they've never seen it, they all believed in this mythical creature and it had powers and it was very precious to them.
Interesting.
So Andrews reported then a cabinet minister stated that the cousin of his late wife's sister actually saw it. And so if they ever crossed its path, Andrews promised that he would try and either capture a photo or get some sort of specimen. They told him it could be they could catch it by using long steel forceps.
Yes.
Yeah. And they suggested maybe you should wear dark glasses so that because they feared that if he looked at it, it was so poisonous a creature that even looking at it could neutralize a person.
Dang.
Yeah. He said, and this was funny. In his quote, he wrote, the meeting adjourned with the best of feelings.
Get
So,
them polarized sunglasses and your grilling tongs.
yeah.
Good to go, buddy.
Then after 1990, an engineer and a self-proclaimed cryptozoologist monster hunter, Ivan Mackerel, he published some articles that were based on his travels in Mongolia. And he described this thing as also possessing some sort of organ within itself that was electric. And
I read about that.
He claims that a geologist was killed from this high voltage electrical discharge when he inadvertently touched a buried death worm with an iron rod.
So not only does it have extremely toxic venom coating its whole skin, by the way, it says it's instant death when you touch it. Like, I mean, how instant are we talking?
Like burn out.
Like, do you think like Rick and Morty level instant death? Like touch it and fall over kind of thing? Or like,
yes,
get sick and die in a few minutes?
No.
Ivan went to the desert because he got inspired by the novel Dune.
Of course. Who wouldn't?
And so he built a motor driving thumper, and it even used like dynamite and other explosions to try to see if it couldn't get these worms to come to the surface.
Kind of like in Tremors.
Sound. No, kind of like in the movie Dune, where they're attracted to sound.
Yes.
Or spice.
But also Tremors in the same light. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't take my Tremors from me.
So this guy actually built like some kind of an actual like thumper machine out there in the desert.
Yeah.
That's wild.
He really believed in this.
That's badass. Good for him.
So then there was a Russian paleontologist. Ironically enough, his first name was also Ivan, but his last name is like Efemrov or something like that. Something Russian.
Fucking Russians. Ruskies.
So he worked in the Gobi Desert, and he wrote in 1958 his it's a scientific book called The Wind's Paths. And he stated in his book that he came across this elderly man while he was in Mongolia. And the man warned all of the geologists of the Mongolian death worm. Supposedly, this geological expedition in 1948 burned a whole bunch of them alive. Burned them alive. How? I don't know.
Who burned them?
Allegedly, some sort of geological expedition out in the Gobi Desert found a whole bunch of Mongolian death worms, and they set them on fire alive.
They just burned them all up, said, we don't want none.
There's no hard evidence of the existence of these things, but I mean, it's legends and stories mostly.
Yeah. There's another guy, Richard Freeman, who's a cryptozoologist guy. And I actually have a couple of his books, The Adventures in Cryptozoology, that are really good if anybody's interested. They're really phenomenal books. Anyways, in 2005, he led a team out to the Gobi Desert in search of the Mongolian death worm as well. And they didn't actually encounter anything, but they documented lots of testimonies from locals and collected a bunch of samples from the desert soil and stuff. But interesting, though. He writes about it in one of his books. Good stuff.
I find it interesting that from the 1600s to the early 1900s to the even 2000s, there's been claims of these things, and it's not for lack of trying. It's kind of like, I think the Mongolian death worm, if it ever were to have existed, it's in the running against Bigfoot in terms of the hide and seek champion.
And mermaids.
No, mermaids are not real.
What about unicorns?
No, this thing is like, if you read about what it allegedly can do, it's scary as shit.
Fuck yeah, it's scary as shit. It can shock you to death. It can poison you with an instant death venom, and it can just straight up eat you.
And at a distance. It doesn't have to be up close and personal to you.
What do you mean at a distance? What?
Oh, yeah, it is said to be killed at a distance. That's Ivan Mackerel. Yeah.
So what, can it like shoot its venom?
It is said to be, yeah. It can kill at a distance, either by spraying venom at its prey or by means of electricity discharge. Primary lives and burrows underground, only rarely coming up to the surface.
Mhm.
And they say that's why there's it looks like tracks, like tunneling under the sand,
Mhm.
following the waves of the sand.
That's badass.
But you know how you'll
That
have like
is.
it looks like waves across sand, but it
Mhm.
will be like a hump within that wave.
Well,
I was going to ask you guys when's the first time you guys heard about the Mongolian Death Worm?
Probably a couple years ago when I started reading into these crypto books.
I don't know. Yeah, not too long ago.
So mine comes from back in like 2006. They had it on Destination Truth.
Of course, then that makes it real.
Absolutely.
It's not fucking real, but I was just saying that was the first time that I remember hearing about this and looking everything up. That's why when you guys were just telling the stories, I was like, wait a second here. I know something about this.
That's what I do. I drink and I know things.
You know something, Tommy. I told you got some brains all up in that big ass forehead of yours.
It's a landing strip, people.
We call that like a 5 to 6 head.
Hey, I'm not bald, okay?
No, you're definitely not.
True.
I am.
No, I got thin hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had somebody ask me, they're like, hey, have you ever had it braided? And I was like, no.
It would all disappear.
No.
No, I have not.
Oh, shit.
There's some things that people have been saying that it could be.
My bet, legless lizards.
Legless
Lot
lizards.
lizards? Lot lizards?
I thought those are
Yes.
hookers in trailer, like in like trucker stops.
We need to
Yes.
ask the trucker. That's what they're called. And we know any truck drivers?
Yeah,
We do, don't we?
we do.
Let's phone a friend.
Phone a friend. Oh, shit.
So, legless lizards, are those small or are they big?
Generally, I mean, yes, but generally on the smaller side. But they are, they're reptiles. They
Because you
resemble
gotta-
snakes. They don't have limbs.
Okay.
Probably smaller than a Komodo dragon.
So then no.
Maybe, unless it's some different species of lizard.
From what I read, it was nothing but what was that? Sand boa.
Okay.
A Tartar sand boa. And
so-
it was about 2 foot long.
So sand boas, those are non-venomous.
Yep.
It does burrow,
Yeah, they do.
but they're not poisonous though.
No.
They're not
But
killing you.
if you told kids a story,
But these are adults.
I mean, there's all kind of venomous snakes in the desert too, vipers and cobras and all kind of
it
shit.
could also be a story that you tell your kids so they stop playing with animals like that.
In the middle of the Gobi Desert, who the
Yeah.
fuck's gonna go play outside in the middle of a fucking Gobi Desert?
Going
Yeah.
out in
Yeah.
the desert playing with these snakes.
You know what I'm saying? They had to be taught, hey, kids, don't play with snakes.
Don't play with them
this
big
snake.
ass worms.
Don't play with trouser snakes and don't mess with the Mongolian death worm.
Yeah, that's
The
simple.
3 snakes you mess around with, you don't mess with.
So they
Bunch
also
of
have.
sick fucks.
So there are worm lizards.
No, worm lizards.
What is a worm lizard?
Okay. They're often mistaken for snakes because they do have very long bodies, but they're part of a different taxonomic group called amphisbaenian.
Amphisbaenians? I don't know how you say that.
Slippy, slappy.
Yeah.
Regardless, they're a lizard that don't have feet.
What if the Mongolian death worm, you accidentally ate one, right? Would that still be a tapeworm?
You'd be dead
It's
instantly. Wouldn't matter.
But yeah, because of poisonous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Oh, gross.
You're stupid.
So those are all the options that it could be. However, none of those fucking things, are out there sending a million volts through people.
Right. The first report of this, allegedly, the first sighting was like 1,000 years ago.
That's
mean,
why I
yeah.
said it could have been something that was around.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the desert was the desert back then. It could have actually had waters and these are the worms that were in those waters.
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible. You're not wrong. I like the way you think.
I'll go hide in the closet now because she's about to bash me.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big difference between 2 feet and 7 feet long, you know?
Yes. That is a
Yes.
whole 5 feet difference.
Yeah.
The 2-footers could have been the juveniles.
Oh, yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean?
they spit this corrosive yellow saliva and they generate blasts of electricity.
I'm just trying to think like you've got fish that generate eels generate.
Electricity. That's possible.
All right, let's say that the eel is a doesn't require to be in water. It can withstand deserts. And then there are like poisonous frogs. We got poisonous tree frogs. Why can't we have a poisonous worm? I mean, I'm not eating caterpillars since I got out of the army.
Here's what's weird. Mongolian was controlled by the Soviet Union up until 1990. And because of that, anything before 1990, you can't really look for any kind of evidence because, obviously the Soviet Union, the way they track things and document things, very different from here in the West.
You could say that.
Yeah, maybe just a little.
Just a wee bit.
Their logging process sucks, even though it does.
Yeah. So legend says, now this is what I think is also kind of odd, that when this creature is going to start to attack, right, it raises half its body out of the sand, puffs itself up until it explodes, and then the poison goes all over everybody. Everything dies instantly.
So wait, it's a suicide worm as well?
That's what I was going to ask. Is it like a suicide worm?
I'm thinking what it is kind of like a pufferfish, how it blows itself up, but in order for it to spew, it's got to build up the air inside like a compressor, and then it spews it out probably.
Kind of like explosive diarrhea. Evan, you're about to be a new dad, so you're going to learn this. It's called blowouts.
It's all right to be peed and pooped on by your baby.
No,
by other people, not really. So also, how would people know this story about if it blows up and kills everything in nearby?
Maybe they watched it blow up and kill somebody else.
They could have. Think about it. Just because it hit somebody doesn't mean it hit everybody.
I mean, you're right. You're right.
In more ways than one. I've been the inappropriate one tonight. Usually it's you or Wes and Evan. Usually you guys are over there snickering, but tonight it's been me.
Yes, which is ironic because your avatar does make you look like Jesus.
You're healed.
Okay.
You're forgiven for all the sins
of all the cryptids, and there are some really rando ones out there. This is, come on, man. It's
fake. A wild one.
Yeah, no. I just think this is Mongolian folklore.
I mean, that does seem like what it is. Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
can you imagine like them holding down somebody, and let's just say that this worm doesn't have the immediate like death, but it does build up, and they did like the Wrath of Khan, where they put it like on you or in you. That'd be kind of messed up.
Yeah, it's fucked up. I will agree with you that this does just seem like Mongolian folklore. Yes.
Yeah.
However, there are other ones in other cultures.
Mongolian death worms?
No.
Or death worms?
In a way, yes. There is something called the guh. The Guh is how it's spelled. Yeah. Also known as the Yukon giant worm. And it is a cryptid invertebrate rumored to inhabit the St. Elias Mountains located in the Canadian territory of Yukon.
Canada finally got something?
Yeah, they have. And apparently, I guess there's some natives up there. I don't know how to pronounce their name. It's Tutchone?
I don't know. Their First
Tutchone?
Nation.
Yeah, Tutchone. I don't know. Southern Tutchone people have accounts of these Yukon giant worms up there.
So this is called the Yukon death worm?
Yukon giant worm is what they're called.
Huh.
Also called guh.
Guh. So this guh I mean, there are no deserts up in Canada.
No, I
That
don't think
irritates my husband so much when I call it Canada because he's Canadian and it's Canada.
It's kind of a desert in a way that it's nothing but forest.
Okay, so that's nothing like a desert. Okay.
It's a forest desert. Like there's
No, bro, that doesn't work. You're a dumbass. It's kind of like a desert, just covered in forest.
just covered in trees instead of sand. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's a forest. Totally
I mean-
different ecosystem.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What a
Yeah.
douche. Does
Hey.
it look the same? Allegedly?
They're apparently like almost black in appearance, and they are in length comparable to bears, whatever that means. So maybe up to 6 feet, 7 feet, 10 feet.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, somewhere in that general region, about as long as a bear.
Huh.
But they're also big giant worms or
Huh.
caterpillar type things.
And I see here that someone saw it hanging out in a tree.
You know, they say there are alligators in the sewers.
Alligators in the sewers.
So yeah, that's not
Yeah.
anything like a desert.
Well, no, it's not a desert, but there's a
Because
big
the
ass
desert
worm.
goes down, but worms go down.
Well, this one could be a worming down under the soil, you know.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting. Don't believe it for a second.
Yeah, it's time to call bullshit.
Bullshit on what?
Every fucking thing.
Okay. Well, there's also these real things called killer centipedes lurking in the rainforests of South America, and these are real worms.
How big do they get?
Usually only up to like at max, I think they're about 18 inches. So
Okay, yeah, so
obviously
no.
not several feet, but they are big ass centipedes that do feed on like frogs and tarantulas, birds, rodents, all kind of stuff.
Well, I don't know if that was real or not, but in 1909, there was that journalist who was talking about the ice worms in the Yukon. Did you hear about that?
I didn't.
You talking about the thing that was made up by what was it, Discovery? Those ice worms?
No, this was back in 1909. Discovery wasn't around then.
Yeah, but there's something about ice worms that Discovery did years ago.
Okay, ice worms, go.
Apparently, they do exist. Ice worms did exist on the coastal glaciers of Alaska, British Columbia, and the Yukon. There was a biologist at Rutgers University, Dan Shane. He studied the life of the ice worm in North America. And so, yeah, he spent an entire summer trekking over coastal glaciers to find out everything he could. He actually has jars of them in his lab. He was able to extract DNA from them. And so the ice worm actually might be the most highly adapted multi-celled creature on the planet. But they're small. They're not big either. They're little. They're about 1 to 2 centimeters long. They look kind of like a piece of yarn on ice, I guess.
They don't kill you?
Well, they have really big mouths. So they eat.
Relative to its size, I imagine.
Yeah. So I guess no, that would be a no. But apparently back in 1909, it was described as 1.5 meters long with a head on both ends of its body. So
I spent some time up in the Yukon training area, and I never seen no big ass ice worms, nothing like that. But I also wasn't really looking,
But then these ice worms that this biologist found at Rutgers, again, they're only just a couple centimeters long, so I guess they don't count. So there's that.
Well, we do know there's worms in the ice, so that's information we didn't have before.
I think a lot of this has been information we haven't had before. I think it's great.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty good.
I mean, I will say this is one of the more creative cryptids. Listen, Asian folk don't fuck around when it comes to, hey, if we're going to make up some shit, we're going to make up a monster. It's going to be a damn good monster.
It's going to be terrifying.
Yeah.
And it'll instantly kill you.
And maybe if we're pulling off of what Tommy said, instead of, hey, we're warning our kids when you go play out in the Gobi Desert, never to be seen again because you're going to die of dehydration and sun exposure. The way to prevent that is to create this Mongolian death worm. This is why you don't venture out into a vast desert, not because you're just going to die, but because of the worms. That's
And I'm still thinking that the desert wasn't as dry as it is now. I'm still thinking that it had, could have a stream. Maybe there was some brush, trees, that kind of stuff. And
then it wouldn't be a desert.
we're calling it a desert now because it's a fucking desert. But you got to think 1,000 years ago, the Earth's surface could have changed.
Yeah.
It most definitely did.
Yeah.
Over time.
But the Gobi Desert, it's saying here that the Gobi Desert landscape was formed at this squiggle line 2.6 capital M small a. What does that mean?
Approximately 2.6 million years ago.
Oh, well, why
There
didn't
we
they
go.
just write that?
You said approximate 2 squiggly line. Like, I'm over here like squiggly line.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Yeah. I feel like you just gave us like a Star Trek intro. Start 869 to the point 8.
Listen.
Oh, shit.
I don't scientific math either. Okay.
Golly, to the squiggly line.
I don't need your judgment, okay? I feel
However,
unwell.
I mean, Tommy's not too wrong. The Gobi Desert, I think at one time was under the ocean.
Yeah, over 2.6 million years ago.
Well, that could be just a prehistoric relative that somehow figured out how to adapt and live underneath the sand instead of under the water.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
But when you're looking
Life is weird.
When you're looking up the history of the Mongolian death worm, they said that it was mostly seen in the 1950s. That shit was a desert, man.
I mean,
dry as
yes.
fuck.
Yes.
Yeah, but you said the story was over like 1,000 years old. And
Yeah, it
that's
was
what made
still
me
in-
start thinking.
The
A
Gobi
fucking-
Desert was a dry ass sand dune of a desert 1,000 years ago.
Well, the death worm could be older than 1,000 years. People could have been dealing with it more than 1,000 years ago. They just weren't talking about it or writing it down.
Or they talked about it and the stories just got passed down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I don't know either, man. I'm in agreement.
Hey, that's why we're on this podcast, because we don't know, right? Don't ever say that shit again.
Yeah.
We don't. We can only theorize.
We can only theorize.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If people are listening to this thinking that we're experts, you're wrong.
Clearly, we're a bunch of dumb fucks at
We're
this point.
fucking not.
Never mind the degrees that we have. We're
Yeah.
stupid as shit.
We're just having a good
My
time.
mama said, alligators are orange because they got all them teeth.
Well, that was fun.
All right.
Well,
We got
so-
that out of our system.
Mongolian death worm, completely no. Fake.
Yeah. I mean, probably just a myth, in my opinion.
What do you mean, probably?
All right. It's just a fucking myth.
Okay, it's just, yeah.
For
no,
me, it's a myth. It's a myth.
it
For
is.
me, I mean, I gave up ideas, but to me, it's still a myth.
Yeah. I
Of
mean, it's a
course.
cool myth, but
It is.
it's a myth.
I will say the pictures that people have created for them, I am impressed.
Yeah.
I am impressed.
Yeah,
Am I
looks
going to run
terrifying.
out and watch that movie, Mongolian Death Worm? Death Rises from Deep Below? Fuck no.
Is that really the whole
Sounds
title
pretty
of
good.
it?
Hell.
I just knew it as the Mongolian Death Worm. Well,
Nobody even mentioned the giant desert worm pit thing in Star Wars
What?
that Boba Fett falls into.
There was a Mongolian Death Worm in Star Wars?
No,
Oh.
but it's a giant ass, pit of teeth like worm thing in the desert.
Oh, I bet you it's based off of this.
I
Yeah.
just figured we needed to mention it for all the nerds out there. So,
Well, you guys are nerds.
bro,
Oh,
you're on
yeah.
a fucking paranormal podcast talking about Mongolian death worms. You're a fucking nerd too.
Well, if you want to bring it up like that.
Well, fine. I'm not being on a podcast.
I feel
Next
unwell.
Sunday. Then I'd be back again.
All right, fair enough. Well,
It's good time.
if you folks, if you got worms in the desert,
the fuck are you doing to this?
I don't even know where he's going at. Hold up. Folks,
I don't
if
know
you
where
got
I'm
worms
going,
in
man.
the desert. Don't look at it. Wear dark glasses. Wear
It's not
gloves.
working.
And have your hot dog tongs on you. You can make a lot of money. Worms in the desert.
Oh shit.
It is what it is, bro. Don't let your kids go play in the desert. That'd be frowned upon too.
Fuck no.
Hey, if your kid comes up to you like, hey, I found a worm in the sandbox. It's not a worm. Just go ahead, wash your kid's hands off and go home.
Oh man. All right. On that note, everybody go fuck yourselves. Good night.
Good night. Oh my God. Hey guys, this is like the perfect time for me to mention to you that, like cryptids, good socks are also hard to find. True story. A new company out of Portland, Oregon called Sockness Monster is putting a stop to that mess. The crowdfunding campaign they just launched is to make cryptid footwear that are of the highest quality possible. These bad boys will last 10 times longer than your average socks, and they're super comfortable. You should check them out. Just jump onto Kickstarter and search for Cryptid Socks by Sockness Monster. Hurry before the crowdfunding ends, and by the way, they're veteran owned and operated. All right, do continue.